The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and are not those of WKYU-TV, its management, or WKU.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Hilltopper fans of all ages, TopperTalk is back in the house.
The debate has started off camera.
Debate has already started, and I'm laughing before the show even starts, but that's how it goes here on the show. Yep. Of course, I am Sean Williams here with Shane Bearden, my cohort in crime, my WKU sports husband, and we are Woody Whiteless tonight, so he is out. Had to attend a event for one of his church members who's signed to play volleyball at Campbellsville, I believe was the message.
I think that's what he said. Yeah, Campbellsville, signing on to play volleyball.
So cool for him. So he's gonna be out this week. So it's just me and Shane. So I'm sorry, guys out there. You'll have to suffer through me and Shane conversations for the next 30 minutes.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. But we'll start off the show by congratulating WKU sports teams all across the way, going 9-0 this weekend. A clean sweep. Baseball, softball, basketball. 9-0. Nice weekend for the sports teams out there in WKU land.
Topper victories across the board and everything. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, you can't ask for much more. And nice
domination in some aspects.
Domination in some aspects. You could say good dominating performances in basketball, men's and women's both.
Baseball had dominating victory as well.
I just mention them all. I think croquet, water polo. There's another sport I'm missing. We just dominated them all,
Shuffleboarding.
Shuffleboarding. Curling's a hot sport now. Yeah. I don't think we have a
the Winter Olympics were just here.
Yeah.
Everybody's curling's on the up and up.
But anyway, all the sports teams won this weekend, so kudos to them. We went 9-0, and that's how we roll here at WKU. So the winning continues, and it continued on the court Saturday night in basketball too. So big victories by the men and women. But first things first, let's get everybody involved. We've been asking some questions on Twitter, so for everybody out there on Twitter, please holler at us at TopperTalk TV. Send us in questions, comments regarding basketball, football. We got 3 Hilltoppers at the NFL Combine. We're going to talk about that later. But first, we're going to talk about, I'm going to throw this out there because it came out today. You can vote on WKU's new field end zone colors. And we're actually talking about that before we came on the air. So if you don't, go to WKUsports.com and you can vote for that. Obviously, they're going to replace the whole field after spring practice. Of course, Conference USA, you kind of replace the field, every 2 or 3 years, whatever. But
it just so happens to coincide with us going to Conference
USA. Yeah, exactly.
We got to put those
nice,
fields.
Shiny Conference USA logos on there. But yeah, we WKU fans have a chance to vote. Your options are the green background in the end zones, which we have now. Not bad. I mean, we need some color though.
Yeah, I think
our other option are black.
Black end zones.
Black end zones.
Red WKU lettering.
Yeah, we're keeping the red WKU block logo, which I'm not very happy about, but I'll get to that here in a minute. Then we got gray as well. So we got black end zone backgrounds, gray end zone backgrounds, and we got the regular green that we have now. So obviously, I'm not really happy with those options. Are you?
No, I mean, you can spice it up a little bit more.
They said they can't do the red because it'll fade. And then I guess if you do the red, you can't really do the red WKU block lettering as well because it kind of blends together.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to do the block lettering in red. Do it in white or black or something else.
I like it.
The lettering, and do it, instead of doing WKU block lettering, do like Hilltoppers or, something else. Spice it up a little bit more.
I like
WKU in one end zone, Hilltoppers in another end zone.
I like the, I think we need more options on this vote, personally.
I agree.
I like it that fans can vote and be interactive in it, but I don't really necessarily like the options. Maybe colors are okay. Black, gray. I would like a red option too, but it's like you said, Shane. I like more options aside from the background color. Maybe change the logo, take away the block WKU lettering, put something fancy like a...
But, they already have the stencils for those, Sean. So
I'm sorry, man. I know it's all about saving money. Man, there's graffiti artists out there that can just, cursive write that stuff on there. I mean, it's not a big deal, and I'm sure they probably cost efficient, too. Yeah, I say he'll go with the old school logo from, like, the 60s or 70s. I think that'd be cool. Or, put Hilltoppers in cursive, kind of fancy cursive lettering in the end zone. Takes up all the end zone.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, Hilltoppers in fancy cursive.
Put, like, some cool red towels or, like, an old school helmet. I like the old school helmet in the corners of the end zones. Like go from like helmets with like the old school logo designs from like the 60s, 50s. Go old school. I'm thinking old school Granada on this. We're hashing out our design options right now.
Sean secretly wanted to go into interior design
Well, this is
as a
exterior
major, but
design. This is a
instead,
football field.
well, you didn't let me finish. But instead, he decided to work on, football fields and such, and,
Well, hey.
and design them how he wanted.
Well, while we're on the subject, I'm just going to throw my 2 cents out there. I think we need more options.
His apartment's very feng shui. by
Yeah,
the
it
way.
is. It's very feng shui. I'll tell you that much right now. But anyway, you can go vote on that at WKUsports.com. I'm not sure if they have a comment box where you can throw more suggestions on there. But I think, I like the idea of having options, but I think there needs
I
to
do
be
like
more
the
of them
idea
as
of them
well.
giving the fans options to vote on.
Yeah, but I like the idea of also
Just more options.
sprucing up, take away the WKU block lettering. Let's throw some fancy stuff on there like kill toppers in cursive, old school stuff.
Yeah.
I like
I'm
that
with
kind
you.
of stuff. But hey, what do I know? We just got a TV show, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Our opinions don't matter. We just throw them out there for everybody, regardless.
So much for our exterior decorating ideas. So let's move on to sports talk, I guess. That was
Okay.
a little bit of sports talk, but it was more related to
Design.
decorations. So, yeah, not really our forte. But all right, WKU got back in the win column Saturday night. The men's team, the final score didn't really, kind of portray the entire story of the game. It was kind of a dominating game where Western dominated, got out to an 18-1 run there and ended up winning 72-63. So you ended up winning by 9 points, but relatively easy game for the Hilltoppers. And I think the biggest story from it was the starting lineup shakeup
Yep.
that happened. So
It
what were your thoughts on that, Shane?
Well, Trincy rose to the occasion, rose to be
did.
named a starter. He did what he
He had
needs
that gleam
to do.
in his eyes that he
Yeah,
wanted
he
to
did.
score a lot.
He did what he needs to do, and that was drive to the basket.
We keep saying it on the show, man.
He's
he did it.
he's the best on the team at doing it.
I love doing it, and the fact is that every time he drove to the basket throughout the entire game, 0 turnovers for him.
Yep, and it was either a score, a pass off, or a foul. One of the three options. So he did what he needed to do. You can't really ask much more. He shot efficiently. He actually from three, he drilled three pointers.
Yeah.
And he came in early in the season. We talked about maybe that his 3-point shot might have been kind of misconstrued on how good of a shooter he was coming out of Texas Tech because he didn't have good numbers.
Is it just because he came from Texas Tech or what?
Yeah, it might be. But he this season he's kind of proved that his numbers maybe were not indicative of the type of player that he is.
Might have
And
been the style of offense as well.
I mean, it might have
You never
been.
know. It could be a lot of
Western is
factors.
definitely more of a free flow offense with getting people open looks. So that's kind of when they can get people open looks. But that's the
When they
intent.
can't-
That's the
when they can't hit
intent.
shots. How about that?
But
Seems to be a problem
yeah.
sometimes.
But and not just Trincy, but I thought Dowdis Amaro, he came in, rebounded the ball very well starting off.
He did. I mean, during that 18-1 run, I think he had about 4 or 5 rebounds, and I think
He had 4
4
rebounds in the first 3 minutes of the game.
And I think a couple of those were offensive and gave us a lot of second chance points. And he did a really good job of bringing some energy and some life and rebounding
some-
effort and everything like that early.
Some defensive presence as well. Even though he only got credited with 1 block shot, I think he actually changed a lot of shots. It kind of kept them from driving the lane a little bit more. They were a little nervous going in there. Afraid Dowda was going to smack it like he did that one that Caden got called for the blocking foul
Yeah.
on. But
Well, we're missing, when we talked about it on last week's show, we're kind of missing a player like that, with
Yep.
Rostov being out, kind of a, shot blocker, shot changer down low. And it's funny that, we were sitting there kind of talking about this maybe sort of happening, or at least we said that we'd like to see Dowda get more minutes. It's funny because after the show last week, driving home, listening to the Ray Harper show, he talks about, what does he say on the show? He says, I think it's about time to throw Dowda in the fire. I got to figure something out here. So he actually, when he said throw him in the fire, I'm like, okay, well, he's going to get more minutes. Well, he ended up being in the starting lineup
And
got
played 27
minutes. So, I mean, that was definitely throwing him to the fire, and he responded really well. So,
well, and another player, Harper has talked about Ben Lawson now starting to get to that point where, he might start seeing some minutes as well. So, I think that's only good late in the season that you're having those guys come in and you're maybe even increasing your depth. I mean, Western was already a very deep team, but going into the conference tournament, it's usually the deep team that comes out on top.
Yeah.
So that can only really benefit the tops.
Are you saying that we are being set up for success in March?
Yes, I am. That's the way Harper works.
There you go. You talk about other people. You talk about Ben Lawson maybe being at that point where he's maybe going to get some minutes. Of course, we don't know how long Rostov's going to be out. It's kind of a touchy situation with him with the blood clot in his shoulder and upper extremity.
I wouldn't expect him to be back this season.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely logical, and I know people have had. I think AJ Slaughter's sister at Louisville. I think she kind of dealt with a similar situation. She came back in like a month, but I mean that's a touchy situation. It varies depending on the situation. So I mean, it's like you said, if he doesn't come back, the rest of the season, that's not a big shocking surprise for me. Because you don't want to deal. You got to tread lightly with blood clot situations like
definitely.
that. So I mean, but yeah, you talk about. We talk about Dowda stepping up, being that presence down low. He's not going to necessarily be a scorer. He only scored 2 points. That's fine. Just go down there and get rebounds,
rebounded,
alter shots, shot block. I think Dowda, it's funny you say Dowda had some good defensive effort, and he did in the first half. Second half, he had a couple instances where he slacked off a little bit, but he played 27 minutes. I mean, he was probably tired.
I don't think that he was slacking off or that he was tired.
I don't think he was slacking off. I'll just say that he was maybe a little slow. But the thing that I liked about that is whenever he did have defensive breakdowns, he got mad at himself and kind of hit the ball, and that shows that he cares and that he wants to improve. So I really like that about him.
I think he knows, and that defense is going to earn you playing time. I think that's why he's getting playing time now, is because his defensive effort in practice and his rebounding effort has been there. So Harper decided to give him minutes. They even talked about in the post game, one of the reasons that Nigel Snipes got minutes the other night is because he's upped his intensity and his aggressiveness and his defense in practice. So, he's worked his way into getting some minutes the other night, and hopefully he continues that as well because, I think Nigel has the potential to be a dark horse for this team. I mean, he's one of the best shooters on the team, if you ask me. I mean, his form is great. I think he has one of the best shooting forms on the team. He's that Georgian sniper. Snipes the Sniper.
Georgia Sniper? Yeah. Well, that's an easy nickname to go with.
So, I think...
You got to throw that junior in there, though, man. I mean...
Snipes Jr.
That's right.
Sniper Jr.
But we talk about Nigel. That's another thing we mentioned last week. Hopefully wanting to see get more minutes, and he did. He got 7 minutes, scored 5 points, got, I think, 3 rebounds as well. But you talk about, upping their defensive intensity. That's the thing that gets people playing time with Coach Harper. You kind of mentioned it earlier. He's a little bit more free-flowing on offense. If you're open, take the shot. He wants you to shoot the ball for sure. But, you're not going to get in the game unless you, improve your defensive effort and have defensive effort as well. So, it was good to see Nigel get in the game. We saw Dowdy get thrown in the fire, get 27 minutes. Nigel came in for 7. I would like to have really seen him play more. But, hey, it all worked out for the better. And,
we had 11 players play.
Yeah.
The other night.
And here's another interesting stat. 83% of the points came from players that weren't named T.J. Price and George Fant, and that doesn't happen very often.
Well, hopefully T.J. comes back, from his little back spasm, shoulder spasm, whatever he's having.
People were. It's funny during the game. People were like, "Oh, T.J. Price ain't in the game," and. Even us, we were like, well, I don't know why he's in the game. Maybe, I think people initially thought that Harper was trying to send a message to him.
Yeah.
But then it kind of turned out whenever he got on the court, you saw, kinesio tape on his shoulder. So it's like, oh, okay. And we heard some rumblings that, his shoulder and his back's kind of been bothering him this week. So you jump out, you kind of mix up the lineup. You jump out to an 18-1 lead. You have the game pretty much in hand. I mean, he come in for 5 minutes and played well. I didn't really think he played. I thought he played well, the 5 minutes he was in there. I mean, it didn't look like anything was really bothering him. You noticed the K-tape and everything on him. But, if he's kind of being bothered by his shoulder or his back and you're up and you're in control of the game, why play him?
Right.
You rest
exactly.
Rest him up for the Texas road trip.
Westford had a comfortable lead at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no reason to even risk it.
So I mean, I think that's.
And if we had made free throws, we would have had even more of a comfortable lead. But
Well, that's another issue, man.
that's
I
another
mean,
issue.
it's an ongoing issue.
Yeah, I was about to say that's continued to be an issue.
That's an ongoing issue, but yeah, I mean, everybody kind of had the misperception that it was a statement by Harper to keep him out of the starting lineup,
Right.
but obviously it turned out to kind of be an injury-related issue, and hopefully, only playing 5 minutes and having a few more days to rest up and everything for the Texas road trip, I think that was kind of the best play for Harper to make.
Well,
for
the
TJ.
Texas road trip's going to be a big one.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
You're talking about which we've already played these teams, but you're talking about going to two places you've never been on the road before.
Right.
So these are two new teams in the Sun Belt. So it is going to be, and they're tough. They're tough teams to play.
well, and Texas Arlington is a very athletic team.
Mm-hmm.
We struggled with them in Diddle Arena. So going and playing them on the road right now, I believe they're sitting in 4th or 5th place in the conference.
Yeah, they're 7-7.
So they're right there too to get one of those top 4 seeds. If they play pretty well down the stretch. So that's a tough game to close out near the road.
Yeah.
Near the end of the season on the road with Georgia State, Texas Arlington. All 3 teams played us tough in Diddle, but who hasn't played us tough in Diddle recently
Right.
besides Monroe?
Well, it's funny because we kind of mentioned that before the game Saturday. You get out when they got out to that 18-1 lead. I leaned over and told you, I was like, "Are we actually going to blow out somebody?"
Yeah.
But it turns out the score was. We didn't really blow them out, but we kind of did. The score was a little bit indicative.
Once again, if we had made
Exactly.
even,
There you go.
75% of our free throws, that's a 20-point game.
That never happens, man.
No,
And that's
very rarely.
very rarely.
When we do make 75% of our free throws, we take like 8 free throws for the game. So
So you're saying we should take less free throws? We should be less aggressive. on
no,
offense.
I'm fine with the aggressiveness. We just need to knock down shots.
But another thing,
There's points being left on the court.
yeah, and we talked about Trinity Jackson having a really big game, playing kind of Trinity Jackson's game.
His second burst is just
Yeah.
so fast.
And he was really, sometimes you see him, drive to the basket. You're kind of on edge because you never know what he's going to do. Sometimes he's a little bit out of control and has some turnovers, and breakaways. But he was very in control the whole game. Had a good shooting night. Like I said, 0 turnovers. But, speaking of 0 turnovers, I think we had 12 assists to only 6 turnovers. And that hasn't happened a lot this season either,
No.
to have more assists than turnovers.
The ball movement was much improved. I think they were passing a little too much in the second half. They started kind of overpassing a little bit. But the ball movement was still there, and that's a big improvement over what we've been seeing, a lot of one-on-one basketball.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and we could tell that within about the first minute of the game. The way they were, it seemed like almost anybody, whenever they got set up offensively, almost nobody had the ball in their hand for like more than 2 seconds, it seemed. They were really doing a good job of, and everybody got touches. It seemed like on every offensive possession. They were, tossing it down low to Acaro and George, and they were, if nothing was open, they'd pass it back out, and they just wheel it back around the court. So it was a really good offensive effort, and we kind of talked about it last week, how maybe Chris Harrison-Docks kind of dribbles the ball a little bit too much, and there's not enough ball movement. Obviously, kind of one of the game plan changers for Coach Harper going into this game. So
That's like one of those things when you're young playing like little league basketball and stuff like that, where they're like, I want the ball to pass 5 times before it even touches the court.
Exactly.
It's kind of almost like one of those
sometimes you
things.
have to go back to that, the basics, man. Just go back to the basics. Pass the ball around.
Sometimes you do.
CHD don't dribble the ball that much.
Well,
we know you're a good
like
dribbler.
Harper said, they had been picking up some bad habits, and then he thought they had probably their best week of practice of the season this past week,
Showed.
and then it showed.
You get a week's worth of practice, good practice, and you get rest, so that really helped out too. And plus, you're coming off a bad loss. I mean, we'll just say it like it is. Even though South Alabama plays is tough, but that was a bad loss. You don't need to lose to a 1-10 team in the conference on your home court. But they really showed improvement, a lot of improvement.
To be
Saturday,
fair to
so-
South Alabama,
No, don't be fair to South
well,
Alabama.
I mean, to be fair,
It's no fun.
I mean, we talked about it last week, but I mean, they do have some talent on the team, and they have played some tough teams, close games like Gonzaga and teams like that. So, anybody on any given time can beat anybody else.
That's why they play the games, man.
That's why they play the game. But so you have to show up. You can't just show up. Sometimes, I mean, South Alabama might be able to go to like Syracuse and it doesn't matter if Syracuse shows up or not; they're probably going to win. But no offense to Western, because I love Western just as much as anybody, but Western just isn't at that level where they can just show up and expect to win games. They
Seemed like
actually have
that's
to put forth
kind of
some
what
effort.
happened. They just kind of showed up expecting to win against South Al, and it didn't happen. Whereas, Monroe, they showed up determined to win.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think Western has the talent that if they played to their potential and actually played 40 minutes of basketball, I think they could compete with anybody in the country, too.
I mean, they're sitting there at 18 wins right now, 10 wins in the conference. So, I mean, obviously you're a talented team. And I think, you've had, a little bit of injury issues with Rostov. Kaspar's still out. But it shows you how talented this team is when you can plug in, players like Dowda. Nigel Snipes comes off the bench, plays a lot of minutes. And, they're very productive that night. And, Tracy Jackson stepped up and had a really huge game. So
I mean, that just shows you the talent and the depth, of the roster. When you can interchange parts, and especially when T.J. Price and Fant's minutes are limited, and you're interchanging parts and you still get the victory, I mean, that says a lot about the depth of this team.
Yeah. So definitely interesting to see that. Of course, they're going on a big road trip to the Texas schools, and like you said, they wins over both of them when we played them here, but very close wins. I think a 4-point victory against Texas State, a 5-point victory against Arlington. So, it's like we said earlier, new teams to play, new environments on the road. You haven't played in those arenas before,
right.
So it's going to be a lot of big factors, and that's going to be a good road swing. It's going to be a tough test, too. I mean, so what do you expect? What do you think will be successful? Obviously, you want to win both of them, but we always kind of talk on this show, if you go on the road, you think you got to win both?
I think you got to win both.
You're not happy with the split?
No, not really, because at this point in the season, you're one game up on Arkansas State for the 2 seed, which gets you that double bye going into the conference tournament. You're 2 games up on Lafayette. You still got Lafayette to play, but it's kind of Western's game. It's Western's seed to lose. They're in sole possession. They just need to take care of business, win out from here on. You're good. You get that double bye.
You mentioned Arkansas State and Lafayette. Those are 2 teams that are playing really well right now.
Right.
And Arkansas State's right on their heels. Lafayette's not too far behind, and Lafayette's a team that we still have to play. So you bring up a good point. How we usually say on the show that we're fine with splitting on the road. But I think you bring up a good point. You want to win these 2 games and control your destiny and maintain that second-place seed for the conference and get that double bye.
Well, and I think you really got to win these 2 games because you still have Georgia State on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You still have Lafayette coming to Diddle, which they're playing very good basketball right now. So I think of the 4 remaining games, I think Texas State and Arlington are probably the ones you need to win for sure. Just in case you slip up on Georgia State or Lafayette.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I mean, and that's really the key right now. I know, maybe 2 or 3 games ago, we're still hoping to catch Georgia State, but that shouldn't be our goal right now. Our goal should be second place, get that double bye for the tournament, and let the dice roll. Let the chips fall where they may. It's tournament time, so Harper's good then, right?
Yep, exactly. Hopefully Arlington can knock off Georgia State first on Thursday night, and then they can be high on that win when we come in Saturday.
Are you saying you want Georgia State to kind of be like Middle Tennessee in the Sun Belt, have regular season success, and then kind of fail in the conference tournament?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I don't care what they do after Western's out of the Sun Belt, but while we're still in the Sun Belt, they can just replace Middle. They're blue. They're blue too, right?
You just want Georgia State to just kind of show up one game at the first game of the conference tournament.
Really, I mean, as good as Georgia State has been, we've talked about this, is that they don't have depth. They play their starters pretty close to 40 minutes. And those guys in a tournament format, when you're playing multiple games in a short amount of time, that can be where it really wears on them. And they got 3 games this week as well.
Yeah, they got to make up some games.
Yeah, they got to make up some games
during the snowstorm. So
this week and going into the conference tournament, that's really going to test their players' energy level and their depth.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them slipping up a couple games.
Yeah, that's why you bring up some good points there. You want to, as far as the games remaining, you want to win. You think Texas State, Arlington are the 2 you really need to win, and then you got some tough ones after that. So all games are tough. It's the home stretch going into conference tournament, so everybody's trying to fight. And obviously we got 2 teams on our heels trying to get that second seed. So it's going to be really important. We'll see how things shake out this week. So you're predicting 2-0?
I'm going to predict.
Let's go ahead and do it, man.
The
For excitement.
The Tops have been playing
It
well on
bumps
the
our
road.
ratings up if you do that.
Okay. The Tops have been playing well on the road, other than the Arkansas State game.
Okay.
So you know what, I'm gonna say that they sweep the road trip, Texas road trip.
You're gonna say, and you're gonna say Dowda's remaining.
I'm gonna say Dowda remains as a starter.
The Dowda effect is in full effect.
The Dowda effect is in full effect.
All right, Texas, watch out. Dowda's coming. All right. All right, let's switch over. We got a little bit of time left.
Football.
Little football. We already talked about the logo thing. Well, let's not talk about that. Okay. Let's talk about NFL Combine. We've got 3 Hilltoppers in the Combine. But I noticed today that Andrew Jackson didn't really partake in anything. I think he just went down there and interviewed.
Just kind of
interviewed.
interviewed.
Yeah, he didn't partake in any workouts today. I was sitting around watching it. I was really hoping, but I guess I missed it somewhere where he wasn't participating. But Antonio Andrews did. He's actually the first offensive player WKU's ever had at the Combine. And maybe not exactly the greatest performance in Combine. Of course, everybody's there in compression shorts and, sleeveless shirts. So, 40 time, not that good, 4.82. Nothing really eye-popping. Bench press was pretty good. He got 20 reps up. But a lot of people throw red flags out there. The biggest red flag for Andrews going in was his fumbling issues. Yeah. And then I've seen a lot of experts say that since he ran that bad 40 time, that there's another red flag right there.
Yeah, but you know what? Alfred Morris had the same red flags coming out of FAU. A team took a waiver on him, took a chance on him.
What was his 40 time, man? I mean, that's the most important thing.
His 40 time was 4.68. 4.68 was Alfred Morris.
But see, here's the thing, though. You talk about all these 40s, shuttle times, broad jumps, all that stuff, vertical jumps. Really, going into the Combine and listening to what, executives and coaches and everything kind of get out of it, really the biggest thing they get out of it is the interview process,
right,
the physical,
exactly.
And the physicals and medical, and said that's really the biggest thing you get. Now, granted, I'm sure some of it's based on your performance at the Combine and how you do in those drills.
Yeah, but most of these coaches have scouted these guys all year long. They've seen all the film on them.
There's been a lot of scouts here at Houchins Smith
They know what they're
Stadium
capable of. So most coaches are pretty set in their ways. They just want to sit down, talk to the player, like you said, interview the player. And I think that carries a lot more weight than what your 40 time is.
Yeah, it does, definitely.
But I think, having good 40 times, having good verticals, stuff like that can improve your draft stock. But I don't think it necessarily hurts it.
Yeah. And we talk about the red flags with Andrews, but he's got a lot of great aspects that kind of separates him from other running backs. A, he's really big.
Yep.
He's hard to take down. 2, he can catch balls out of the backfield, so he
did good in the receiving drills.
He did. Now, I'm bringing up Senior Bowl stuff here, so he did really well pass blocking. Yep. So he's really good at that. At the Senior Bowl, he was the best running back, pass blocking, catching the ball out of the backfield. So those are positives. Whether he ends up getting drafted or not, I'm not really sure. I
think he still will. I think he's still going to go, I'm going to say 5th, 6th round.
5th, 6th round.
Yeah.
I think if he goes, it'll be the late rounds, like you said. I'm thinking maybe 6th, 7th. Even if he doesn't get drafted, I think he's still going to get an invite to a team for, and get signed as an undrafted free agent, a la Bobby Rainey. So. Yeah. And, that's where you want to go. I mean, even if you don't get drafted, you want to sign with a team and get your chance to prove yourself.
And I think Jonathan Dowling may end up being the one that actually goes the highest of all 3 of these guys.
We'll see. He gets to go tomorrow, and we kind of threw a question out there on Twitter. What do you think his 40 time will be? Will it be over under 4.4 seconds?
I'm going to say 4.38.
I'm going to go 4.43.
Okay.
So we'll see. But he gets to go tomorrow, so we'll be looking forward to that. And that about does it for our show. We're running out of time. Did a lot of good sports talk, and we'll see you next week.
We're just talking a lot.
Yeah. Go Tops.
Big boss man, can't you help me when I go? Big boss man, can't you help me when I go? Well, you ain't so big, you just all that sound. Well, you got
PBS takes you back for a night of 60s girl grooves.
My boyfriend's back and you're gonna
Hosted by the supreme Mary Wilson. See and sing along with your favorite girl singers and girl groups of the 1960s. Performing their hits. Join PBS for 60s Girl Grooves.